Hello and welcome back to the Football Insider channel. My name is Connor Bromley and today we are going to do a review of all the football in the Premier League this weekend. There's been lots of happening, lots of chaos ahead of the international break. If you enjoy the video, please like, please also subscribe to the channel and please let me know what you thought of this weekend's Premier League football. So there's only one place to start really, and that was Liverpool's 1-0 win against Arsenal. And we'll start from the Liverpool side of things. I didn't think they were necessarily great in this game, but they were functional. They did clear up a lot of the defensive issues that we've seen. Konate, who's had a really poor start of the season, he really stepped up in this game. Szoboszlai, of course, man of the match, he had a brilliant game and then scores an unbelievable free kick. One of the best free kicks you'll see. The game wasn't one of high quality. It was a game that felt very much like a chess match. And I think Arsenal will come away really disappointed. They could have really went for this game. And I think they probably would have done damage to Liverpool if they were a little bit more attacking, a little bit more on the front foot. And I think they'll come away pretty disappointed that they've lost the game 1-0 and they'll have regrets about the manner of their performance. And I think it felt very winnable for them. I think Liverpool are not in a great place right now, and I think that, yes, they were better defensively, certainly, than what they were against Bournemouth and Newcastle. But did that come from how conservative Arsenal were in the game? So overall, I think Liverpool will be thrilled. That's 9 points for them. They're having a great start and a great chance to, obviously retain their Premier League crown. And we'll talk about some of the other results this weekend that might have helped them. But for Arsenal, this feels very much like a missed opportunity. And let's move on to Manchester United's win against Burnley. Now, this was a really controversial one, and I think that Man United could probably count themselves quite fortunate. There was an offside goal that was so tight, and when I've seen the image, I don't really see how they've come to the conclusion that it was offside, but it is what it is. And there was also a controversial penalty, and there's no doubt it was a foul. It's just whether or not it happened inside the box or not at the end of the game, which saw Man United win. For Burnley, I thought they played pretty well, and if they play at that level this season and create the chances that they did certainly in the second half, they'll have a good chance of picking up points this season and being better than the recently newly promoted teams. I thought they were excellent. And as for Manchester United, it was just important for Ruben Amorim to get a win, but I think there's going to be a lot of discussions over the next couple of weeks about Ruben Amorim, his future, because it was weird, his press conference after the game. And I think the situation there, it feels untenable right now, even though Manchester United won the game. And Brighton, they beat Man City on Super Sunday. And it feels like Man City are treading water a little bit right now. They obviously had a great start of the season. They beat Wolves 4-0. They then followed that with a 2-0 defeat at home against Tottenham. And then with a late defeat here against Brighton, a bit of a sucker punch. And I thought when they went 1-0 up in this game, they would control it. It's not often you see Man City go ahead in the game and get beat, but that's what happened today. And Brighton have proved to be a tricky team for Man City over the years. And it's a great win for them. For Brighton, they've had a bit of a mixed start. They drew on the opening day. A last-minute goal cost them 3 points. They were poor last weekend against Everton, not clinical enough. But today, they've picked up a massive win. So it's huge for them. Interesting to see if City can gel after the international break. I think that's what they'll be looking out for over the coming weeks. Crystal Palace, they picked up a massive win at Aston Villa, 3-0 away from home. And I didn't have this one, especially because Palace had played in Europe in midweek away from home. I thought they would struggle in this game to have the energy levels, but they certainly didn't. They were fantastic in the matchup. I think Villa, it's too early to be worried about Aston Villa, but they're definitely stale. You would think that they need to do something in the transfer market before it closes. And yeah, I think, you see Mark Gay scoring an unbelievable goal. Is that his parting gift, or will he stick around for the season? Who knows? He'll be imperative to Palace if he does stay. But that was a really big win for Crystal Palace and a very impressive performance for them. I think that's 5 points for the season. They're undefeated. Huge. Villa still haven't scored a goal yet. And there are concerns at Villa. Obviously, they're not going to be in any trouble or anything, but it's just been a slow start for them to start the season. I'm going to talk about Chelsea, and when you talk about Chelsea against Fulham, it was a controversial win for Chelsea, but controversial is the word. I think Fulham were very unlucky. We saw that VAR or the PGMOL have apologised to Fulham for the goal that they had disallowed that would have put them 1-0 up. It's a game that's marred by refereeing decisions. There was a controversial penalty as well, and controversial opening goal because it came after the allotted added time, and Fulham sort of thought that there shouldn't have been that much time added on. So Fulham can count themselves very unlucky here. For Chelsea, it's a big win for them. Fulham, a tricky team to play against. If they win it 2-0, they won't care about the refereeing decisions. They'll just be happy to get this one over the line. But for Fulham, the positives are they played really well. They were excellent in the matchup and probably deserve something from it. And they'll be fine this season. I think they're a solid Premier League side. They've got a lot of good players. Chelsea, just good for them to pick up. I think that's 7 points for them to start the season. There was a huge win for Everton at Wolves. I thought Everton looked fantastic in attack. You watched that Monday Night Football against Leeds at the start of the season, and you worried about Everton that day, and it felt like there was a lot of stormy clouds ahead for them, but they bounced back with a huge win last week against Brighton, and then a fantastic win here. I thought Jack Grealish looked immense in this game. Kieran Dewsbury-Hall played really, really well in this one as well, and Dye, he looks really good as well. There's just that front line. Beto was really good against Wolves. That front line's scary though for Everton. I think they've hit on something. If they can keep them all fit and firing together this season, they're going to be a problem for teams. I think Everton are going to be looking up the table for the first time in a long time and not be worrying too much about relegation. I thought they were solid. Wolves though, they look like they are in deep trouble right now. Concerned after the game, the manager talking about the need for reinforcements. They've left it until very late in the window. We don't know what's going to happen with Jacob Strand-Larsen at the time of recording this. Are they going to be in relegation trouble? You would worry, especially with the newly promoted teams looking okay this season, certainly better than in previous seasons. Wolves are slow starters, though. You know, you have to bear in mind that I feel like the last few years they have started the season slowly and they've come round, but it's concerning. They've lost their first 3 games of the season and they've not really looked good in any of them. West Ham, they were big winners this weekend. They defeated Nottingham Forest 3-0. It was a tight game. West Ham switched to a 4 at the back. That seemed imperative to their performance in this one. They were much better. They were much more balanced. I think Graham Potter just trying to shoehorn that 3 at the back. It didn't work. And thankfully, after 2 games, he's realised his ways and he's went to 4 at the back for this one. I thought Somerville was excellent when he came on. He sort of changed the game. And yeah, it was a huge win for them. And we looked at them as potential relegation candidates. And obviously there's still issues at West Ham. This result doesn't solve all that, but it makes them at least feel better about themselves. It makes me feel better that they're going to be able to compete and they're going to show how good, because they are a good team. You look at them on paper, they're a strong side. And they shouldn't be anywhere near relegation trouble on paper. Just that start of the season was so poor. You did worry, and there's a lot of unrest within the West Ham fan base, and there's issues at Nottingham Forest. Talk about them. You know, it was okay for them for 80 odd minutes. It was a nothing game really until the end when West Ham ran away with it. Will the manager stay? There's obviously question marks about Nuno Espirito Santo's future. It just feels like it's not a happy club there at the moment, and a lot of the good work they've done last season may come undone because of just the sort of chaos that exists there behind the scenes. Bournemouth win at Spurs, and this is an interesting one because Spurs obviously won at Man City last weekend, a really, really impressive result, and they turned up in this game and they were so poor. I don't think they had a shot on target for the first 60 minutes of the game. Bournemouth was superb, could have been 3 or 4-0 up. That would not have flattered them one bit. Is the honeymoon over for Spurs and Thomas Frank? Is that the question? Because there was, you know, boos in this game. Is it similar to the Ange Postecoglou era? 1 step forward, 2 steps back? Who knows? As for Bournemouth, they just continue to plough on even though they've lost players. So well done them. That was a massive win for them away at Tottenham. Sunderland win against Brentford, and I think the thing that stands out for me in this one is the fact that they go 1 goal down with on the 77th minute and they find a way to win the game 2-1. It's imperative for all these newly promoted teams that they pick up points at home. Sunderland lost to Burnley last week, so there was that concern that they beat West Ham, but West Ham were a shambles on the opening day. So was that Sunderland or was that West Ham? They lose at Burnley, then they go against Brentford. Brentford take the lead and they find the way to get back into it. Brentford were pretty okay in the game. They were solid. They didn't create much, but I think that was as much down to Sunderland's strong defence, and they defence in midfield as a unit, and that goalkeeper who saved a penalty in this one looks really, really strong. And I think Sunderland will continue to surprise in the Premier League this season. I'm not saying they will necessarily stay up, but you can certainly say they're going to make a better fist of it than the recently promoted teams. In Brentford, they are one to watch in terms of being in trouble this season. I think they bringing in Keith Andrews and all the upheaval there, you know, he talked about that after the game. There is a lot of problems there that need resolved. The Visa situation, which will obviously hopefully be resolved in the next 24 hours for them. Yeah, and I think Brentford, you know, they are going to be in a little bit of trouble this season, but I don't think they'll necessarily be going down. But I think they're certainly one to watch in terms of the drop this season. And lastly, probably the worst game of the weekend, Leeds drew with Newcastle. I think that both will probably be happy with a point. Newcastle have got some injury concerns. They've obviously got issues with Alexander Isak. They lined up with Asula up front, who's an unproven, you know, young striker. You know, both teams struggle to create anything. I can't recall too many chances in the game. I think for Leeds to get 4 points from their opening 3 games, they'll take that, especially winning 1 against Everton. Obviously, they hammered at Arsenal, but they've replied, kept themselves a clean sheet here. I worry about them going forward. I don't think they've got a lot in that final third. they probably need to address that before the deadline closes. As for Newcastle, it's a decent point away from home for them. They'll be concerned they haven't won a game yet, but they have had a tricky start to the season when it comes to fixtures. So, thanks for watching this review of the third game week of the Premier League. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy the content as well. And we'll catch you, I am sure, for plenty of deadline day videos in the next 24 hours.